Hey everyone, this is Jeff Risdon from the Detroit Lions podcast and Lions Wire, and we're doing a little bit of a solo video this week. Chris and I can't coordinate our schedules to do one live, so you get me solo, and we've got a lot to talk about. Got the Eagles game that we have to unfortunately relive a little bit, and then a look ahead too to what's left for the season. And there's still a lot of season to play. And there's still a lot of time for this Lions team to get where we all want them to be. So, without further ado, let's do this. Defense was phenomenal. And I do want to lead with the defense being everything that we've always wanted from the Detroit Lions defense over the last few years that they have never been able to be. They just beat up the defending Super Bowl champs. Enough that most of Philadelphia's media coverage in the last couple of days, as I record this on a Wednesday afternoon, has been about what the hell's wrong with our offense. The Lions did that to them. Jack Campbell, my goodness. Incredible game. Incredible game. 15 tackles, always in the right spot. Great game. Thought the line up front did incredibly well. They stopped the tush push. I love the fact that the Lions were one of the teams, probably the only team that came out and said, hey, keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with the tush push. And they stopped it. They put their money where their mouth is. And afterwards, the Eagles media, they've been very, good for you guys. That's how you counter it. My goodness. Tyleik Williams, DJ Reader, Roy Lopez, getting low, getting anchor, getting surge. That tush push, there were some Eagles linemen going backwards, y'all. Incredible game from Kelvin Shepard's defense. And that is one of the reasons why I still have a lot of hope rolling forward with this Lions team, because this is a defense that can win games for you. Big games. The defense played well enough to win any playoff game against any team. But that's not what we get to focus on, because the Lions lost. And they lost because their offense was not capable of making they weren't capable of solving Philadelphia's defense and the way that it has been presented. And the Eagles followed the Vikings blueprint of attack up the middle, stress the center and the guards, take away Goff's escape lanes, take away the easy middle of the field short drag throws from him, and see what happens. And as happened in Minnesota, even to a greater extent because the Eagles have better talent, it completely stymied the Lions' offense. And there's a lot of fingers to point. Jared Goff, rotten game. I don't know if it was the gloves, the fact that he looked like he was on an expedition to Svalbard. It wasn't that close. It was 38 degrees. Everybody else is out there in short sleeves, and he's wearing 5 layers. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I don't know. It harkens back to his draft report back when he was coming out of Cal. Not a bad weather player. Well, saw that, unfortunately, Sunday night. I think by and large he had killed that too. But I don't know about the gloves. I don't know. I didn't play quarterback. Just knowing from college intramural football, I did play quarterback. I did use gloves at times, and I never really noticed a lot of a difference. But again, I'm certainly not a finely tuned quarterback. No, not a chance. So I don't know. He's done it for a long time. He's comfortable with it. I think he was just off. And I think that the Eagles defense deserves a lot of credit for creating that. And one of the reasons why they were able to do that is where my biggest concern is. And this is where we're gonna start having a little bit of flow here. My biggest concern going forward for the Lions is the biggest concern that the Eagles exploited in this game, and that is the guard-center-guard combination with Graham Glasgow in the middle, flanked by rookie Tate Ratledge and backup Coyote Aushika. Eagles dominated those guys, all three of them. I think Yode actually probably had the best game of the three, and he didn't have a very good game. Certainly not in the run game. Look, there's not much we can do in terms of changing personnel. Maybe Mahogany gets back by Christmas or the beginning of the year, week 17, week 18. That would be great. But Tate Ratledge is a rookie, and he's learning, and he looked very much like a rookie in this game. That Eagles front, they're no joke. Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Jalen Carter, Brandon Graham off of his couch. It's a really good, aggressive front. They don't need to blitz to get pressure. It felt like Ratledge was just swimming in way too deep of a water. His technique got sloppy. Footwork got sloppy. Didn't trust his eyes. It's going to happen to rookies. Issue is that Glasgow had some of those same problems too. Whether it's he's dropping his head when he's looking for a block, he's picking up the wrong on a twist, simple twist. He will stay too long with where he's riding to the inside or to his right where he's got to get to his. There's a lot of little nuanced line play that the Lions just aren't doing very well. They didn't do it well in this game. They honestly didn't do it very well against Washington, although I do think Glasgow played pretty well in the Week 10 win over the Commanders. But the interior line is not an asset anymore, and this is. There's a lot to complain about with Dan Campbell right now. No, I don't want him fired. Get out of here with that. But he can be better. He needs to be better. And one of the ways that he can be better and help his offense, help Jared Goff and help his linemen, stop asking Graham Glasgow to be Frank Ragnow. Stop asking a rookie in Tate Ratledge, who's got a lot of talent but clearly needs a lot of work. Don't ask him to be Kevin Zeitler. Those are not plug-and-play positions. You're not going to find anybody who can plug and play for Frank Ragnow. So stop asking Graham Glasgow to do that. And they are. They haven't really changed or accommodated that Glasgow is not Frank, that Ratledge isn't Zeitler. And it hurts. It shows. Just the little things like the spacing between them, the way they handle transitions, the way they pick up blitzes, the aggressiveness to which Frank got to the second level in the run game or could get beyond his initial gap or reach. Graham can't do that. Stop asking him to do that. Simplify things a little bit. It's hard because it's worked so well for so long. And it's not that Glasgow and Ratledge aren't good players, but they're not that level of player that you can ask them to do the same things that these Pro Bowlers and all-pro vets did. And I haven't really seen that. And to further expand upon that, in this game, Brock Wright, who had a miserable night, both as a receiver and a blocker, they asked him to go out and be Sam Laporta. He's not Sam Laporta. He's Brock Wright. He's a very solid, capable number 2 tight end. One of the league's better ones, I would argue. But when he's put into the number 1 tight end role, you just can't plug and play him like he's Sam Laporta. That's not who he is. Play to the talent that you've got. It's still functional. You can still win a lot of football games and score a lot of points with Graham Glasgow as your center, with Tate Ratledge as your right guard, with Brock Wright as TE1. It's there, but you've got to play to their and mitigate their weaknesses and understand that they're not who they're replacing from last year, or in Wright's case from earlier this season, with Laporta being out now for an undetermined amount of time. Let's ask him to be Brock Wright. He's pretty good at that. That was a frustrating thing from it. You saw that a little bit on one of the failed fourth downs. And you know what? Let's just dive right in. 5 fourth down plays. Hated the fake punt. Hated it. When the Eagles left out their base defense, somebody on that field has to be empowered to say, you know what, this ain't going to work. Let's call a timeout, or let's just, okay, you know what, let's have some signal, some hot read. Jack kick the ball, pin him deep. There wasn't that safety valve audible pressure reliever in there. Terrible call. Eagles were waiting for it. And this is part of the broader thing. We talked about a little bit the blueprint. Minnesota laid the blueprint. Actually, Tampa Bay kind of tried to do it. They didn't have the successful of doing it. But Minnesota can do it. The Eagles can absolutely do it, and that is dominate the middle of the field. There is enough game film and tape out there on this offense, Dan Campbell's offense, Jared Goff's career, Jared Goff playing in this offense behind this line. It's somewhat predictable. It's been fantastic, but teams are catching up to it. They've found a way to impact Goff and to also impact the running game by muddling and muddying the middle of the field. The Lions have to make an adjustment there. That's where John Morton as the OC, Scotty Montgomery as the assistant head coach, Hank Fraley as the run game coordinator. I don't think Hank had a very good game, honestly. Campbell as the play caller and architect of the offense. They've got to make some adjustments to that blueprint, because right now that's out there. And I'll get to the Giants game in a little bit, but the one area where the New York Giants can beat anybody, their defensive front is legit, y'all. Like, they got some guys up there. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, although he might be hurt. Like, their defensive front can do the same things that the Eagles did and the Vikings did. Probably not to that level of intensity or talent, but they're not far off from that. And now that book is out there, the Lions got to find that Lions offense. They've got to find new pages to write, whether it's going up tempo, whether it is, moving Goff out of the designed rollout. Naked, I can't believe I'm calling for a naked bootleg for Jared Goff, but nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Like, do something that throws off the defense, that makes them think, that makes their coordinator be like, crap, didn't see that coming. There's none of that in the Lions offense right now. They just out-executed Washington, that doesn't have any real defensive. They're not good defense. Eagles are a good defense. Vikings are a good defense. I think the Packers are a pretty good defense. We'll see them next Thursday. They did a pretty good job the first week. We all like to chalk that one up to John Morton being in his first game, but I think we've seen that it's probably a little deeper than that. You need to see some variety here. Whether it's going, you know what? Let's see some four wide receiver looks. Let's see Monty and Gibbs in the backfield together. At least keep their linebackers occupied and honest and thinking. I think the two latest losses, Minnesota and Philadelphia, those defenses dictated to Dan Campbell's offense how the game was going to be played, and that is not where this Lions offense is good. They need to be the tone setter. They need to be the team that comes out and dictates the terms of the game. This is going to be a physical game. This is going to be a speed game. We're going to use our skill. We're going to use Jared Goff being at his best, picking apart, finding your weakness and attacking it over and over and over again, exploiting all the weapons that the Lions have. They've got more weapons on offense than you do on defense. Good luck. And that hasn't happened in 2 of the last 3 losses, and that needs to change. And there are ways that they can do that. I would love to see them simplify some of the blocking a little bit. I would love to see them, just try something that's a little different. And look, I know we don't like to talk nice about Ben Johnson. I thought he was really good at finding those things. Like they just did what? Huh? Never seen that before on tape. Think about that for a second. When was the last time this Lions offense this year did anything that they haven't done in the past? I can't think of any. And that's an area where they can get better. And they need to. Because right now, this defense is capable of winning, like I said, any game, anywhere, anytime. And that includes playing in February. The defense can win the Super Bowl. They've got to get some turnovers. They're not. You can't absolve the defense because they're still got some vulnerabilities. I think they missed Kirby. Get to him in the injury report, which we'll get to in a minute here. But they have 3 takeaways in the last 5 games. 2 of them were in one game against Tampa Bay. Got to get more pressure on the ball, whether it's Hutchinson and Al-Qadim Muhammad and Tyler Lacey and whoever else is playing up front, whether it's Campbell or Anzalone on the blitz, Barnes, whatever. Like the talent's there, but they are not impacting the quarterback enough to make him make mistakes. And when they do make mistakes, the Lions aren't quite capitalizing on it on the back end. That's where they can get a little bit better on defense. So, and they can. They've shown that. It'd be great to get Terry on back. Sounds like we're going to have DJ Reed back. If not this week, then for Thanksgiving. Should be great. Marcus Davenport could be back. Josh Paschal could be back. Whatever wood is around, I'm going to knock on it. If they can stay healthy, both of them, it'd be great. They're good players. They fit what the Lions want. They fit the grit. So if they can stay healthy long enough to... I would love for the Lions to have both of those guys active and have to worry about who's going to be inactive. Like, do we sit Lacey? Do we sit? Who do we sit? It'd be a nice problem to have, especially in the wake of last year. But as far as the season outlook, look, losing to Philadelphia sucks. And losing the way that we did sucks. But I want to rewind. Let's go back to July, June, when the schedule came out. And everybody plays a schedule game. I did it. Chris did it. If you're watching this and as a Lions fan, you know you've done it. How many of you in June, July, August, preseason, had this game in Philadelphia in prime time against the reigning Super Bowl champs, had that as a W for Detroit? I'm sure a few of you did. I didn't. Most people didn't. That's one of the reasons why I'm not super frustrated at the loss. I'm actually somewhat encouraged by the fact that the Lions offense played as poorly as it did. The interior of the offensive line being absolutely dominated by the Eagles. Lions are right there. If Dan chooses to kick the field goal when it's 13-6 and it's 13-9 on the chip shot field goal on the missed 4th down in the end zone, it's a different football game, because then when the Eagles go back and they score, it's 16-9. It's still a 1-score game. It's a very different dynamic of how the game would be played in the 4th quarter. That's not what happened. With all the mistakes with as tragic as the offensive line play was. And Panay didn't have a very good game. Taylor Decker was better than Panay, but not by a lot. But it was just a bad game. Now, again, Philadelphia's defensive front, they're good, man. Getting Jalen Phillips, that was a great move. That's because my friend in Miami said, uh, that's one where you fire the guy who made that. Oh, and they did. Yeah. Uh, that was hard. Brandon Graham, again, coming off of his couch. Guy's incredible. Nakobe Dean, I love his instincts in the passing game. Zach Bond, able to do anything. He's like a combination of Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone. It's a really good football player. They're deep. Moro Ojomo, guy who I advocated for the Lions to take in that draft. The Eagles got him in the 7th round. He's better than Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis at rushing the passer and at winning right off the snap. Who had that on their bingo card? Apparently Howie Roseman did. That's why they let Milton Williams go. It's ridiculous. But not many teams can do that. I think Philly can. That might end the list, quite honestly. We'll see the Rams. Like, the Rams are pretty good. Actually, the Giants, pretty good there. They don't quite have the linebacking yet, but Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Lawrence, Brian Burns, nothing to sneeze at. It's a good front. They just don't have any offense. Yeah, I'm not at all out on these Lions being able to win multiple playoff games, including the Super Bowl. They still can. They have things to work on. Guess what? Everybody does. Again, just step out of the Detroit bubble for a second. Go to Philadelphia, whether it's reading their beat writers. They've got a lot of really good, talented guys on their beat. And watch what they've reacted to, but also, like, if you're on Reddit, go to their subreddit. If there's a message board out there that I'm not aware of, like, find it and read the reaction of how Philadelphia is handling this win. Like, you'd swear they lost this game. Like, they are aghast at how bad their offense is after this. Lions did that. That's impressive. I don't think this defense is a fluke. I think it's going to get better. Again, they did this. Both your starting cornerbacks and one of your starting safeties, your best ball hawk on the back end, didn't play. Rock Ya-Sin was all over A.J. Brown. Insert snide comment about end of game penalty here. Gonna let that pass. Awful, though. Awful call. Awful call. Can't call that. It is what it is. We got to look at the injury report. It's a long one. Unfortunately, there are a lot of names on the Lions injury report today. Start with the guys. So the Lions did not actually practice on Wednesday. It's an estimated practice. 5 players on the active roster did not practice. They're all kind of important, unfortunately. Terrion Arnold, concussion. Brian Branch, toe. Taylor Decker, shoulder. Kirby Joseph, knee. Panay Sewell, ankle. You're looking at 5 of the 10 best players on the team, including the best player in Panay. It's not great. I know it's just an estimation. I know with Decker especially, there's probably some accommodation to being a veteran and getting some time off there, but let's hope they can get better. Let's look at the limited guys. Now, some of these guys are not active yet. They're still on their various reserves lists. That includes Davenport with his shoulder, Josh Pascal with his knee. I'm sorry, back injury. Never know with him. There's been a lot of injuries. Same with Davenport for that matter. We've covered that. DJ Reed also still out. Hamstring would have been listed as limited today. One that intrigues me of the limiteds. Well, let's just go through them first. Davenport, you got Graham Glasgow with a knee, listed as limited. Again, estimated practice. Tate Ratledge, knee. Pascal, back. Reed, hamstring. Isaac DeSlaw with an oblique. I think that's in your torso. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Watch Dr. Liao for more info, please. Sione Vaki and Brock Wright listed with ankles. And Anthony Ferkser we trust at tight end. Now, the guys who were listed as full participants had they practiced. Jacob Sailors with a back. Leaf with cramping. Rodrigo, who got activated on Tuesday. Happy to see that. Got to the end of his window. They activated him. Would have been a full go. That's great to see. He will help special teams, which have not been good. But then there's Miles Frazier. I am excited about Miles Frazier, probably more than I should be. I liked Miles Frazier a lot as a draft prospect. More than anybody else, we've covered that. He could be activated, and I think his initial role will be as the sixth lineman. And I like that. It's a chance to also find out in practice, like, where does this guy fit best? I think he's a tackle. I think he's a right tackle. I think that's his best position. But if he's good at guard, I'm good with that too. Let's find it out. I know there are a lot of people who think that he can be a good NFL center. I'm not opposed to that either. Let's just get him on the field, get him in, get him some live action reps against a very good Lions defensive front in practice and see what he can do. See if he can be this year's Christian Mahogany, coming back late in the season and making a name for himself enough that the Lions didn't worry about a starting left guard this year because they knew that Mahogany was coming up. That's the best case outcome for Miles Frazier. Would like to see that. Now the Giants have some injury issues of their own, and this is one of the reasons why you're going to really want to pay attention when Dr. Leal puts his stuff out on Lions Wire, and also pay attention to my guy Dan Benton over at Giants Wire, who does a great job. I've known Dan for a long time. Giants media is pretty good people. Eagles media is like that too, but I've worked with the Giants in their draft part for a very long time. Worked with Schmeelk over there. Doing Big Blue Review and all that stuff. Good folks. They've got, let's see, Paulson Adebo, a starting corner, was out with a knee on Wednesday. Thomas Fedone, a tight end, with a foot. D. Flanagan Foles with an illness. He's a linebacker, and I'll be honest, I have no idea who that is. Sorry, just don't. I'm not going to say that I do if I don't. Cordell Float, Personal was out. He's a defensive back. Rico Payton, out with an illness. There's a couple names that all of you should probably know. Darius Slayton as a wide receiver, and he starts for them now because of their injuries, is out with a hamstring. Kayvon Thibodeau winks at Josina Anderson. Out with a shoulder. That's a blow for them. Limited. Tay Banks, pretty good cornerback prospect from a year ago that I think we all remember. Here's the big one, though. Jackson Dart, their quarterback. He missed last week with a concussion. He was limited today, which means that he's going through the concussion protocol. If he passed today and is a full participant on Thursday, he'll be good to go. He's an impressive player. He's fun. He makes the Giants fun. They're terrible, but they're fun. They fired their coach. A couple other guys there. Tyler Newman was limited. Chauncey Golston, limited. Raheem Nunez-Roches, limited with a toe and an elbow. Hope those weren't at the same time. Be a really weird injury. Look, they're 2-9. They've already fired their coach. These are guys that are playing for if they want to be in New York long term or if they want off the rotting ship. So far, that's a small sample size. It's been 1 week. They played pretty well. I'm curious as to how they come out with that, but I don't know. This is a very winnable game for the Lions. They're favored by over a touchdown, as they should be. Blackout. I'm not going to get into the uniform discussion like your friend Gray does this week. Got to watch his show. It's great. I don't really care about the uniforms all that much. I just didn't really like the solid gray pants. Wish they were silver. There you go, Gray. I threw you a bone. Not opposed to the black. I like the helmets a lot. I do. Looks good. I like us to win. I did the huge show. I was in studio on Tuesday, and I predicted 34-7. And because of all the injuries, and because the Lions have not been getting the takeaways on defense the way that they should be, I'm going to modify that a little bit. I'm going to downscale. I'm going to go back to 27-12. Lions beat the Giants. So that's that for game prediction. We got time to break these things down. I am tentatively working on a draft-centric video because now all of a sudden everybody's into the draft now that we're picking 17th, 18th in the draft. On the outside looking in, it is mid-November. Hope to have that up for you either Friday or very early Saturday morning. Check that out. But we're not going to be picking 17th or 18th. We're going to be picking deep in the playoffs. Look, there's a lot of winnable games on this team's schedule. A lot of the teams that are ahead of them have to play one another. Those are losses. If the Lions keep winning, it's still a playoff team. We're going to feel so much better in 12 days when they're 8-4 and have beaten the Packers and are back in probably a tie for first place in the NFC North, controlling their own destiny once again. I don't like not controlling the destiny. I do think that Dan Campbell will be able to effectively sell to these guys that they're the hunters again. They're better hunters than they are prey. I think that's one of the things that this season has shown. But again, they've got to do better on the offensive line. Goff, Amon-Ra, Panay. They can't all have bad games all at the same time again. Otherwise, look around this league, man. Anybody can beat anybody. That's the frustrating part. That Minnesota game cost them their margin for error. Can't do that again. Can't have any more of the slip-ups like that. I'm still a big believer in this team, that they can win anywhere, anytime. That includes in January and February. Absolutely still in on this team. But it's harder to get to that point. They've made it more difficult on themselves. And they have made it more difficult for fans to believe in them. Sounds like 2023, 2024. I think they're going to spin that forward very well. We will see. With that, I'm going to call it a show. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for commenting. If you're in the Patreon, really enjoyed the Slack conversation this week. Get in on that. It really is the smartest Lions discussion on the internet. It's been very good. Y'all please be good to one another. It's a holiday season. Stressful time. Aside from football, there's a lot going on locally, nationally, internationally. I hope that you can find some peace and release in Detroit Lions football and the Detroit Lions podcast.